Okay, so in my first montage, I said I would do a special video if we hit 10 subscribers. I wasn't expecting to hit 10 subscribers right after that video was released. So thank you guys for the recent support. I'm not really sure where to go from here. I know I should try and play some other games, but I don't know what other games I'm interested in playing just yet. As for this video in particular, you're in for a treat. We've got 25 battles in total in this video. 10 single battles, 5 double battles, 5 monotype battles, and 5 free-for-all battles. So if you do enjoy any part of what is most likely going to be our biggest Pokémon Showdown episode as of yet, feel free to like this video and subscribe to the channel. And without further ado, let's get this over with. Because I have a feeling I'm going to be terrible at this game, aren't I? So we've got Sharpedo against B-Sharp here to start off. And I'm going to go all in with a close combat. That's a one-hit KO. No surprise there, that's the first KO of the game. Do I switch out here? Sharpedo's got lower defense, but at the same time also has a faster speed, and maybe we can capitalize on that. Surfetched is up next. Sharpedo has a higher physical attack, so we'll go close combat again. It's very punishable, though. Surfetched is going in with a Swords Dance. I'm going to switch out. I know Sharpedo's a lot faster, but that lower defense is concerning me a bit, so we're going to switch to a Molga. It's a one-hit KO off the knockoff. I think Surfetched got a bit of a read. If I kept Sharpedo in there, it would not have been effective. Close combat will be enough to take down Surfetched. So up next, we've got Eldegoss. Now is a good time to switch out, and I'm going to go for Corviknight. Energy Ball, well read. Mirror Armor in response to lower special defense. I didn't know that was a thing. It doesn't really work too well here, though, because Corviknight is more of a physical attacker, and they go for a switch onto Lycanroc. Brave Bird doesn't do a lot. We could go for a Body Press here. Lycanroc goes for a Swords Dance. Body Press does a bit more than the Brave Bird. Corviknight is back to full. Has to be careful for what happens next. Lycanroc with a Dynamax. And Max Rockfall will take down Corviknight. So I'm going to go back to Sharpedo here. And we are going to go for a Hydro Pump. Will that be enough to take down Lycanroc? It will. They should switch to Eldegoss, and if they do, I'm going to switch out again. There's the switch onto Eldegoss, and we are going to go to Arctozolt this time. And the Energy Ball does a decent amount. We're going to go for an Icicle Crash here, and they go for a switch. They thought I was going to use an Electric-type move. It's still super effective against Diggersby. An Earthquake will take down Arctozolt. So back onto Sharpedo here. And Crunch will be enough to take down Diggersby. A Speed Boost as well. They go to Eldegoss again. I'm just going to go for a Crunch this time. Wow, that did a lot more than I expected. I thought Dark was resisted by Fairy types, but I guess not. I just realized Eldegoss is not even a Fairy type. So we've got Sandslash and Relicanth. I'm going to go for Sandslash here. Going to Dynamax and go for a Max Rockfall. Eldegoss goes first. Energy Ball does a good amount. Max Rockfall, will it be enough? It will be enough to take down Eldegoss. It is 2 against 1. Vitinio has his Dynamax wasted. Kling Kling is the last Pokemon. Doesn't have a Levitate. We can wrap it up with a Max Quake. And there it is! First game of the video. First win of the video. An ideal start. We'll see what happens next from here. Diggersby is part normal. Yeah. I'll stick with it, though. We'll go for an Earthquake or Shifu with a bulk up, well aware that Diggersby is more of a physical attacker. And there's a Drain Punch, and it's a critical hit and a one-hit KO. I don't have a Fairy type, but I'm going to go for Mandibuzz next. And we're going to go with a Brave Bird on this one. And Drain Punch is a critical hit again. Brave Bird in response. Super effective, but our Shifu is still in the green. Gonna go for a Roost here if we can. It looks like we can. And Mandibuzz recovers back onto the green. The thing about our Shifu is not only does he have a move where he could recover out of like another Pokemon's energy, but he's also got leftovers. Drain Punch again, and Mandibuzz is down. I'm gonna go for Manectric. He's more of a special attacker here. Should go first here. We're gonna go for a Thunderbolt. Down to the red and paralyzed. Unable to make his move there. So this Thunderbolt should take down Urshifu. And it will. We're back in it. So up next, they do go for a ground type. They go for Zygarde. So I'm going to switch out. And I'm going to go onto Indeedee here. And Zygarde goes for 1,000 arrows. It does a pretty good amount against Indeedee. Expanding Force, Zygarde down to the yellow, and 1,000 arrows is enough to take down Indeedee. And all three of my remaining Pokemon are weak to 1,000 arrows and ground types in general, really. I'm going to go for Registeel. Defense is pretty good, so hopefully it comes to good use here. Registeel down to the yellow, Body Press is enough to take down Zygarde. Up next is Mienshao, a fighting type. So I'm just going to go Body Press again if we can, and we cannot. Mienshao takes down Registeel here. We're going to go back to Manectric on this one. And we're going to go for a Thunderbolt again. Mienshao down to the red, close combat. Manectric is down to the red as well, and Mienshao is eventually out. Morpeko is up next. Okay, Thunderbolt is going to be resisted, but some ability... Oh, that's a critical hit. Some abilities have it, like Lightning Rod, where it could absorb electric types and be completely immune to it. Our last Pokemon here is going to be Reshiram. This is where I Dynamax. I'm going to go for a Max Wormwind against Morpeko. And Orwheel doesn't do a whole lot. Max Wormwind in response will take down Morpeko. Slowbro is up next. We'll go Max Wormwind again. Does a decent amount there. Lowers Slowbro's attack. Goes for a Future Sight. And this Max Wormwind will take down Slowbro. The Dynamax is over for Reshiram though, and Altaria is the last Pokemon heading out. And Altaria with the Dynamax. Max Wormwind, Reshiram down to 2%. Draco Meteor in response, not enough against Altaria. And the Future Sight takes down Reshiram. That is game. We brought this guy down to his last Pokemon, but wasn't enough in the end. So up next, we've got Ho-Oh against Vaporeon. We'll go for a Scald to start off. Actually, no, I won't. I'll go for a Toxic. And they go for an early switch here. Toxic goes against Flapple. It would have been good if I did that Ice Beam in my first turn. That would have been an amazing read. But I suppose I could do so now. Unless Flapple decides to switch out again. And Flapple goes for a Dragon Dance, and Ice Beam takes Flapple down for the first KO of the game. Celesteela is up next. Ice Beam does a bit more, but Scald is a stab move, and there's the burn as well. Air Slash doesn't do a lot, so we'll go for a Scald again. I might switch out after this turn. Oh, looks like my opponent's gonna switch out instead. The Scald does a decent amount there, And Silvally with a Thunderbolt and the Paralysis. That puts Vaporeon in a bit of trouble here. There's another Thunderbolt. And lands the Scald this time. Silvally down to the yellow. But it looks like Vaporeon still in it. Makes the move and Silvally down to the red. So Silvally gets the hit with the Thunderbolt and Vaporeon is out. The thing is, three of my Pokemon are weak to Silvally, and the other two are legendaries. And I don't want to reveal either of them yet, but I think I'm going to have to. We've got Moltres, and we are going to go for a Fiery Wrath to take down Silvally. Thunderbolt goes again, and another Paralysis, but the Fiery Wrath hits, Silvally is out. Celesteela is back on for this one. I'm going to go for another Fiery Wrath here. And Flash Cannon does a decent amount. Special attack increases here. Still doesn't do a whole lot against Celesteela. Flash Cannon, Moltres down to the red. Celesteela down to the red as well. Down to 1% off the burn. So it looks like Moltres will get taken down first. Eventually, Celesteela gets taken down as well because of that burn. They could go back to Ho-Oh here. They don't. They go for Pangoro. That's still pretty good for me because Carbink is part fairy. We could capitalize on that with a Moonblast. Close combat does a lot, but Moonblast is going to be enough to take down Pangoro with a one-hit KO. They reveal their last Pokemon, Glalie. It's been a while since I've seen Glalie in a random battle here, but we'll see what happens. Earthquake. Okay, my game's lagging out a little bit, but I think Carbink will be... Oh, down to 4%! Moonblast doesn't do a lot. And Earthquake does take down Carbink eventually. I do think I have options, though. We are going to go for Tyranitar here. And I'm going to Dynamax with this one. Max Rockfall against Glalie. And Earthquake, super effective. And Max Rockfall, will it take down Glalie? No, it will not. Down to the red. Buffered by the Sandstorm, trying to recover with its leftovers. So I'm going to go Max Rockfall again. And Glalie goes for the Dynamax as well. Max Rockfall goes first. That is a Dynamax wasted, my friend. Ho-Oh is the last Pokemon remaining. And we could cap it off here. Toxic misses Tyranitar. And Max Rockfall wraps up this game in style. Game 3 ends up being a win, so if we follow the pattern here, Game 4 is going to be a loss, isn't it? Alright, so got a bit of water before this game. We've got Lantern against Rotom. I'm going to go and switch out right off the bat. We're going to go for Throw, and my opponent switches out as well onto Mewtwo. Alright, so we are going to go for a knockoff here. Mewtwo with a nasty plot. And with the fact that Mewtwo goes first, that should put Throw in a lot of trouble. And there it is, the Psystrike for the first KO of the game. Gonna go to Durant for this one. First impression? Is that a good move? It's good enough. It takes down Mewtwo, and we're level again. You've got Braviary up next, and first impression is the only move I could use. I'm gonna switch out. And we're going to go back to Lantern here. And Brave Bird resisted well. And with that, we are going to go for a Volt Switch. And my opponent switches out as well. Rotom resists it, and we are going to go to Entei. And we are going all in here with a Sacred Fire. They go for another switch onto Tentacruel. The Sacred Fire still does a decent amount. And again, it's the only move I could use, so I'm going to switch out again. And knockoff, super effective. It was a slight read here. Knocks away the Eviolite. Probably would have been better if I... Actually, no, I don't think it would have been better if I kept Entei, because Tentacruel obviously has water-type moves here. Mr. Mime Poison from the Sludge Bomb. Freeze Dry should be enough to take down Tentacruel here. They go for a switch instead onto Umbreon. And Mr. Mime is taken down from the poison. So with that, I'm going to go back to Durant here. And I'm going to go for a superpower. And Umbreon goes for a Protect. Blocks the superpower. Even then, that's the only move I could use. So I'm still going to go for it. And they go for a switch onto Tentacruel. And superpower will be enough. It will be enough to take down Tentacruel. So they're going to go to Braviary up next. And with that, I'm going to switch back to Lantern. And Braviary goes for a Dynamax. Max Knuckle does a decent amount against Lantern. We're going to go for an Ice Beam here. Max Knuckle goes first. And Lantern down to the red. Braviary, that was a critical hit and a freeze as well. Big plays by Lantern. And with that, we are going to go for a Volt Switch. You have to switch out to someone, and that someone is going to be Entei once again. And that is another Dynamax wasted. But to be fair, I don't think Braviary was expecting that freeze. Thaws out in time. Entei down to the yellow. Gotta be careful though, because that Stone Edge is a bit of a punish against Braviary. Probably still would have been a KO without the lower defense here. I'm gonna go to Excadrill for the... Actually, no, I won't. I'm gonna go for a Dynamax. And we are going in with a Max Flare on this one. And Sucker Punch goes first. Entei down to the red. And Max Flare is going to be enough to take down B-Sharp. It's a critical hit as well. So who's next? It is going to be Umbreon. Fair enough. I'm going to go Max Flare again. And Umbreon down to the yellow. Foul Play is enough to take down Entei. This gives them a chance, maybe. We're going to go First Impression on this one. If it hits, and turns out Umbreon is going to get that block, and that means I've got to switch out. Because First Impression only works on your first try. I'm going to go to Excadrill here. Foul Play does a decent amount. I'm going to go for an Iron Head. Doesn't do enough. Umbreon down to the red. Goes for a Wish. And another Protect here. So Umbreon doesn't go back to full, but recovers back into the green. So Earthquake puts Umbreon back down into the yellow. And Foul Play is enough to take down Excadrill. I think Umbreon might be able to cap off a comeback, because we've got no options from this point forward against Umbreon. Going for a switch to Durant here. And Umbreon's probably going to go for the Wish and Protect strategy once again. I'm going to go for a Superpower this time. And Umbreon is back to the green again. And Superpower misses Umbreon this time. Foul Play does a decent amount. Gonna go for Superpower again, and it misses again. And Durant is down to the yellow now. Umbreon might recover back to full. Not gonna happen in this case! And Umbreon is down. One more Pokemon to go. Attack is a bit lower here, but it will be enough to take down Rotom. They were pretty close to getting a comeback in the end, but Superpower was too much for them. We're doing pretty well so far. I'm actually a bit surprised. But that's only 4 matches. We've still got 21 more to go. I have no idea how long this is going to take. We've got Comfy against Caracosta. I'm going to switch out right off the bat. Oh, wait, no, I don't. Okay, here's the thing. I keep on thinking that Comfy is a grass type, but Comfy is actually a fairy type. Might have a grass type move, though, so yeah, I've got to be careful. Alright, starting off defensively with a Calm Mind, and we go for a Stone Edge. It does a decent amount. And Giga Drain, there's the grass type move I was talking about. Caracosta is taken down, first KO of the game. We'll go for Glalie here. And we're going to go for a Freeze Dry. Comfy goes in for a Draining Kiss. Goes back to full health. Freeze Dry doesn't do a lot. Special attack is higher. Special defense is lower. Does Comfy have Levitate? Doesn't look like it. So Draining Kiss. It will take down Glalie this time. We're going to go for Diancie next. And I'm going to go with a Toxic on this one. And there's a Giga Drain here. And I thought it was going to be a one-hit KO against Diancie. Still in it. But if Comfy goes for another Giga Drain, then I think Diancie's going to get taken down. We'll go for a Diamond Storm if we can, and we cannot. Comfy is back at full health. The Toxic is getting to Comfy, though, so hopefully Comfy gets taken down before my Pokemon end up getting swept. I just found out Thundurus has Sludge Wave. Even then, Comfy is still in it and goes for a Calm Mind here. Does Comfy have a recovery move by any chance?
Bruh.
Hopefully not. Draining Kiss, it's kind of a recovery. Sludge Wave again, and the Toxic will be enough to take down Comfy. But the fact that Comfy already took down 3 of my Pokemon, that's concerning. And Lycanroc is up next. Grass Knot does a decent amount. Stone Edge will take down Thundurus. My last 2 Pokemon could work well against a Lycanroc, though. We've got Palisand up next, and we are going to go for an Earth Power. And Stone Edge is resisted well. And Earth Power hits, and Lycanroc is down. Alolan Executor is up next. And I don't really have any good options against Executor. We're just going to go for a Toxic. And in response, there's a Giga Drain, and it's going to take down Palisand here. So my last Pokemon is going to be Pheromosa. And we are going to go with a Dynamax and a Max Flutterby. Will that take down Executor? It will. It's 3 against 1 now. We've got Galarian Slowking up next. Max Darkness should be good against Slowking here. There's the Dynamax. And Max Darkness does a decent amount. Lower special defense. Max Flare in response. Very close to game with what I'm seeing here. And Slowking with a Max Guard this time. Blocks the Max Darkness. Pheromosa loses the Dynamax. Lands the Throat Shot. It's not enough. Max Flare wraps up this game. Alright, so first 5 games haven't been too bad. 3 wins out of a possible 5. I expected worse, but overall a decent start. We've got Amoonguss against Spectrier. We're going to go for a Spore here. Looking to put Spectrier into sleep before we do anything else. It goes against Slowbro instead. And I don't really have too many options with Amoonguss, so I'm going to switch out and go for... I'm going to go for Goodra. We can switch in safely here. And Earthquake does a decent amount. Slowbro is still asleep, though. Down to the red, and eventually wakes up and goes for a Trick Room. I've seen Slowbros do this a lot, and it makes sense as to why here, but Slowbro will get taken down for the first KO of the game. Up next is Tapu Fini. Let's see how well Power Whip does here. That puts Tapu Fini down to the yellow. Has to attack next turn.
Bruh.
And, well, that Power Whip miss was unfortunate. Moonblast takes down Goodra with a critical hit as well. So we're going to go back to Amoonguss here. Two options, Sludge Bomb or Giga Drain. Sludge Bomb does more damage, but Giga Drain can help Amoonguss recover. It's a critical hit and Tapu Fini is down. Either option would have worked, to be fair. Jellicent is up next. Interesting call. I saw in the comments, I don't think that was his intention. Jellicent has Flamethrower. I did not know that. Oh, wait. Now I see why Jellicent has a Flamethrower. It's actually Zoroark here. Giga Drain is about at the level of his Flamethrower, though. That's pretty good to see. With that being said, Amoonguss is taken down first. We're going to go to Lucario here. Extreme Speed should be enough, and it is enough to take down Zoroark. It could go to Jellicent here. They've got two Ghost types, but they end up going for Raichu. Extreme Speed does a decent amount against Raichu. Goes for a Focus Blast, and it misses Lucario. Extreme Speed again, Raichu down to the red. And this Focus Blast hits, and Lucario is out. So I'm going to go for Dragonite next. Raichu is deep in the red, so anything would really work here. And Thunderbolt does a decent amount, gets the paralysis as well. Raichu is out anyway. So we're going to go back to Spectrier here. With this in mind, I'm just going to go all in and go for an Outrage. We'll see how well that does. Spectrier with a nasty plot. Outrage is a critical hit and a one-hit KO. Jellicent is up next. Last Pokemon remaining goes for the Dynamax. And the Max Phantasm does a decent amount against Dragonite. Outrage in this case does not do a lot against Jellicent. So Max Phantasm or whatever move is next should be enough to take down Dragonite. Especially with the lower defense. But what is Jellicent going to go for? We'll find out after commercial break. It's starting to lag a bit again. It looks like Jellicent goes for another Max Phantasm. And that will be enough to take down Dragonite here. I'm going to go for Zarude on this one. We've got options with this. I'm going to go for a Power Whip. Jellicent down to the yellow, goes for a Max Geyser, doesn't do a lot. Jellicent is in a bit of trouble, and my opponent is going to forfeit here. With the fact that we've almost played a full match, I'm going to count this as a win. We've got Whiscash against Togekiss here. We're going to go for an Air Slash to start off this battle. And off the bat, that misses Whiscash, and the Stone Edge misses Togekiss. That's probably the worst turn one I have ever seen. Air Slash hits Whiscash this time. Stone Edge misses again. I'm going to go for an Aura Sphere this time. Does a bit less than the Air Slash did. Stone Edge hits Togekiss this time. Gonna go for a Roost. This could potentially help Togekiss recover back to full. The Stone Edge misses anyway. I'm gonna go for an Air Slash. There's a flinch against Whiscash. The Air Slash misses though. Stone Edge hits, and it's a critical hit. And Togekiss is out for the first KO of the game. I'm going to go for Virizion this time. And we are going to go with a Leaf Blade. They go for a switch onto Hatterene. And Leaf Blade doesn't do a whole lot. We're going to go for a Swords Dance this time. And Hatterene in response goes for a Mystical Fire, does a decent amount, and lowers special attack. But the thing is, Virizion is more of a physical attacker. So, yeah, Mystical Fire doesn't do a whole lot. Leaf Blade does a lot more this time. Psychic takes down Virizion. So with that, I'm going to go for Inteleon. And we are going to take down Hatterene with an Air Slash. Or are we? They go for a switch onto Toxapex, a critical hit off the bat. Toxapex is one of my least favorite Pokemon to face, because he's super defensive, has Toxic Spikes, a Baneful Bunker most likely, and the dual typing is pretty good. Water and Poison. You think Grass types would work well against that, you gotta think again. There's another critical hit though. We're going to go for another Air Slash, and Toxapex is eventually taken down. Now the thing is, if I switch out here, most, if not all of my Pokemon are going to be affected by the Toxic. So I pretty much have to stick with Inteleon. Up next is Skarmory. We're going to go for a Surf here, does a decent amount. Brave Bird in response, Inteleon down to the yellow. And Surf takes down Skarmory. We're back in it. It goes back to Hatterene. We're going to go for a Surf again. The Surf hits, and Hatterene is down. Whiscash is up next. We are going to go for an Ice Beam on this one, and Whiscash is taken down as well. 2 Pokemon remain. The thing is, Air Slash is a bit less accurate, has a little less power, and it's not a stab move. And Girder in response goes for a Bulk Up. The thing is, that works against physical attackers here. And Surf puts Girder down into the red. I may have spoken too soon, and Inteleon gets taken down first. Frosmoth has heavy duty boots here, so we're gonna go with Frosmoth up next, and we're gonna go for a Giga Drain. I just forgot, Mach Punch is super effective again. Wait, what? I thought Mach Punch was a Steel type move. It's a normal type move, isn't it? So the last Pokemon remaining is a Sandslash. Perfect time to go for a Dynamax here. We're going to bring out the Ice in Frosmoth and go for a Max Hailstorm. Sandslash goes for the Dynamax as well. Goes for a Max Rockfall. And Frosmoth is out. And that puts us in trouble. We've got Marshadow up next. We're going to go for a Spectral Thief. And Max Quake. Marshadow down to 7%. And Spectral Thief doesn't do a lot there. Marshadow is eventually taken down. Chansey's the last Pokemon remaining. So I think that can cap off the comeback here. Seismic Toss doesn't do a lot. And Chansey down to the red already. And Earthquake wraps up this game. We had 1 Pokemon remaining, and we end up getting swept by him. So up next, we've got Lycanroc against Solrock. We're going to go for an Earthquake to start off. Lycanroc with a Swords Dance. Earthquake, Lycanroc already down to the red. And Sucker Punch is a one-hit KO against Solrock. So up next, I'm going to go for Kingler. Gonna try Liquidation here. Sucker Punch does a decent amount. Lycanroc gets taken down. So who's going to be up next? It is Licky. We're gonna go for a Swords Dance here. And Licky goes for a Wish, expecting to get hit. I'm gonna charge up again. And Licky goes for a Body Slam. Liquidation is going to do the most damage here. Will it be enough? It will be enough to take down Licky. This game is lagging so much. I'm sorry. Up next is Xatu. And we're going to go for a Rock Slide here if we can, and we cannot. Psychic takes down Kingler. We've got Frost Rotom up next. We've got options again, and we are going to go for a Thunderbolt. They go for a switch. Thunderbolt still does a decent amount against Marshadow. They're probably going to utilize the fight in Marshadow, and I don't really have too many options to deal with that. I'm just going to go for Indeedee. There's a Psychic Surge and Rock Tomb. That's an interesting call. And Indeedee is already not just down to 50%, but with a lower speed. And Rock Tomb eventually takes Indeedee down. We're going to go for Groudon up next. And we're going to go with a Heat Crash. And they go for a switch onto Umbreon. Heat Crash doesn't do a whole lot. We're going to try Precipice Blades here. And that misses Umbreon. Goes for a Wish in response. I'm just going to go for a Thunder Wave. And that misses as well. Umbreon lands the Toxic and recovers back to full. I'm going to go for the Dynamax here. Umbreon with a Protect. Max Quake doesn't do a lot. We'll go for Max Quake again, and they switch out to Xatu. They read it perfectly. Gonna try a Max Rockfall this time. They go back to Umbreon. And Max Rockfall doesn't do a lot. Joao is playing this perfectly at the moment. Precipice Blades does a decent amount against Umbreon down to the red. So if Precipice Blades doesn't miss, well, it's definitely going to miss. Umbreon with a Protect to combo off. That basically guarantees that Wish. And Groudon down to the yellow because of the Toxic. Umbreon back down to the yellow as well, but goes for a Wish again. And eventually Groudon is out. And I'll tell you what, I think Umbreon can sweep the rest of the team. Umbreon's got Protect, Toxic, and a Wish as well to help recover. And I don't really have any good options against Umbreon at this point. Umbreon goes for another Wish, most likely expecting to get hit. Thunderbolt doesn't do a whole lot. There's the Toxic again. This is starting to get embarrassing. Umbreon is just not only trying to sweep my team, but stalling while doing it. We're going to try a Blizzard. Doesn't do a whole lot, but goes for a Wish again. Umbreon's got leftovers as well. Further, helping on its recovering. And there's a critical hit. It's not enough, though. Foul Play doesn't do a whole lot. The Wish doesn't really pan out for us, though, because Umbreon is back to the green. We'll go for a Thunderbolt on this one. Doesn't do a whole lot, but goes for a Wish again. And Rotom is out. Hydreigon's up next. The final Pokemon remaining. We're going to go for a U-turn here. Super effective. Umbreon misses out on a Toxic, but recovers back into the green, and U-turn's the only move I have now. And Umbreon just tries to go for the disrespect with the Dynamax, and Hydreigon is taken down. That was embarrassing. 2 more single battles to go. We've got Sharom against Piukumuku here. This moveset is horrible. I mean, apart from the Toxic, I guess. We'll go with that. Energy Ball, super effective against Piukumuku. And this Energy Ball will take down Piukumuku for the first KO of the game. We've got Chandelure up next. And we are going to go for a Calm Mind to start off. And my opponent goes for a switch and goes to Colossal. The only option I really have that works well against Colossal is Lycanroc, so I'm going to switch out. My opponent goes for the Spikes to prevent me from... Well, not prevent me from switching out, but like hinder me from, I guess, desiring to switch out. And goes for a Gigantamax. That's an interesting call. The G-Max Volcalith, I don't know if I pronounced it right, puts Lycanroc down to the yellow. Stone Edge doesn't do enough, and Max Flare does enough to take down Lycanroc. Up next is Arctovish. And we're going to go for a Vicious Rend if we can. My opponent with a Max Guard there. Interesting call to use that as the last move of your Dynamax, I guess. Vicious Rend does a decent amount against Sharom, and that's the only move I can use. So I'm actually going to go for it. My opponent goes for a Petal Dance, and Arctovish is out. Chandelure up next. And Petal Dance resisted, but still does a decent amount. And Sharom gets confused and gets taken down by the Fire Blast. Colossal is back on. We'll go for a Shadow Ball this time, if we can go first here, and that will be enough to take down Colossal. Mantine is up next, and this is where I switch out. I'm going to go to Magnezone. And Scald does a decent amount. And Magnezone gets burned from that as well. We're going to go for a Thunderbolt here, and they go for a switch onto Klefki. That still did a lot of damage. My opponent goes for Spikes again, and Thunderbolt will take down Klefki. Pangoro is up next. I'm going to switch back to Chandelure here. And Pangoro... I'm sorry, what? How did Close Combat take down Chandelure there? We're going to go back to Magnezone here. And I guess go for a Body Press. Actually, no, I don't think I can do that because of the burn. So we'll try a Thunderbolt. And Close Combat takes down Magnezone. Cresselia is the last Pokemon heading on. And we've got options here, really. We'll Dynamax and go for a Max Starfall. That goes first, and that will be enough to take down Pangoro. Are they going to go back to Mantine here? They will. So I'm going to go Max Mindstorm for the stab effect. That doesn't do anything. There's a Toxic against Cresselia. We'll go for a Max Starfall. That doesn't do a lot either. And Mantine's got a Roost as well. So I can tell that Mantine is probably one of the more stall-based Pokemon. To be fair, I think I could say the same about Cresselia. Scald does a decent amount there. I think it's the Toxic that's going to take down Cresselia eventually. Psyshock does a decent amount. Hurricane puts Cresselia down to the yellow and confused. We're going to try and go for a Moonlight if we can. Recovers back into the green, and Scald does a decent amount there. The Toxic is taking a toll on Cresselia, and Moonblast is almost nothing there, and Scald isn't enough to take down Cresselia, but the Toxic is what wraps it up. Alright, so to start off this next battle, we've got Bolton against Raiku. We're going to go for a Crunch here, does a decent amount. Scald in response also does a decent amount. We're going to go for a Crunch once again. Down to the yellow. Aura Sphere in response, and Bolton down to the yellow as well. Raiku eventually down to the red. And they go for a switch onto Dugtrio, but it's super effective. Tangling Hair in response. lowers the speed for Bolton. I'll stick with him. Sucker Punch is enough to take down Bolton here. When you switch out like that, it leaves 2 Pokemon in a low percent, as opposed to 1 Pokemon getting taken down. It's an interesting call to see if it works out here. I'm going to go for Hitmonlee next. We're going to go for a knockoff. That should be enough to take down Dugtrio. Sucker Punch goes first. And knockoff is enough to take Dugtrio down. And I just realized it's the only move I could use now that Drapion is heading in. I'm gonna go... I don't even know if I have... Actually, I do have an option against Drapion here. We're gonna go for Landorus, well read on the Earthquake. And we're gonna go for Earth Power in response. Poison Jab resisted. Interesting call, and Earth Power takes down Drapion with a critical hit. Clefable is up next. So I'm going to go for a Rock Polish here. I thought it increased attack, but I'm still... Landorus should go first next turn, so that should help accumulate a lot of damage on Clefable. The Earth Power puts Clefable down to the yellow, and Fire Blast is going to be enough to take down Landorus. So with that, I'm going to go for Bronzong here. And to get this moveset set up, we're going to go Iron Head against Clefable. And the Fire Blast goes through Bronzong down to the yellow. Iron Head takes down Clefable. It's neck and neck at the moment. They do go back to Raiku here. So I'm going to go for an Earthquake. Thunderbolt is a critical hit. It goes first, and it's enough to take down Bronzong. So I'm going to go to Hitmonlee, and I'm going to go for a knockoff, but Raiku should get taken down very soon. And knockoff does what it needs to do, and Raiku is out. 2 Pokemon remaining, and one of them is Rayquaza. And knockoff is once again the only move I could use. This time I'll play it safe and go for it. It knocks away the heavy duty boots, and Rayquaza goes for a Swords Dance. And goes for the Dynamax. And Max Quake is a critical hit and takes down Hitmonlee. So I'm going to go for Indeedee up next. And we're going to go for an Expanding Force. Does a decent amount against Rayquaza. In response, goes for a Max Airstream, and that takes down Indeedee. So my last Pokemon is going to be Tyranitar. And I'm going to go for a Max Rockfall. Now's the time we go for the Dynamax here. And Max Quake is super effective. Doesn't do enough there. Had Tyranitar not Dynamaxed, I think that would have been game over. But it is 1 against 1, and the one remaining is going to be Regidrago. So we are going to go for Max Rockfall again. Dragon Dance. Regidrago is trying to charge up here. Max Rockfall does a decent amount, does over half. Regidrago is probably going to go first next turn. Is it going to be enough? 2%! And that keeps Tyranitar alive, and Regidrago gets taken down. Right down to the wire. And single battles are capped off with a close win here. Ended up being a very good game. So with that, on to double battles we go. We've got Slowbro and Kyurem against Sirfetch'd and Espeon. We're going to start off with a Calm Mind, and we'll go for a Glaciate. It goes against both of them, so that's good. First Impression is super effective against Slowbro, recovers to the green. Espeon with a Calm Mind. Glaciate does a decent amount, lowers the speed for both of them. We'll go for a Psychic against Sirfetch'd and an Earth Power against Espeon. Earth Power hits first, doesn't do a lot. Dazzling Gleam in response, they're both down to the yellow. Kyurem recovers to the green, Slowbro down to the red, and Psychic takes down Sirfetch'd for the first KO of the game. Tapu Lele's up next, so we're going to go for a Fire Blast. No, we're going to go for a Scald against Espeon and a Glaciate against both of them. Tapu Lele on the Protect. Glaciate does a decent amount, lowers the speed for Espeon, and Dazzling Gleam takes down Slowbro. So we're going to go for Audino next. We're going to go for a Heal Pulse to Kyurem and a... Never mind. I guess the Heal Pulse doesn't work out. And Psychic goes against Audino on the verge of being a double KO there, but recovers to the yellow. We've got Rotom Wash up next. And we'll go for a Helping Hand with Rotom. He's got some good stuff. We'll go for a Hydro Pump against Espeon. And Psyshock puts Rotom down to about midfield. Espeon down to 1%, able to recover. Both Audino and Rotom at the red. Rotom recovers to the yellow. We'll go for a Body Slam against Espeon and a Volt Switch against Tapu Lele. Espeon on the Protect, and Dazzling Gleam takes down Audino. And Volt Switch does a decent amount against Tapu Lele. We're going to bring Rotom back in eventually, but we'll also bring in Sandaconda. So we're going to go for a Hydro Pump against Espeon. And Sandaconda... I wish that Sandaconda had Earthquake, but high horsepower could possibly work. And it's a critical hit, and it takes down Tapu Lele. Psychic takes down Sandaconda, though. And that puts me on my last Pokemon. Looks like my opponent's got a Rotom as well. I'm going to Dynamax with Thundurus here. And we'll go for a Max Overgrowth against Espeon. And it's a critical hit. Espeon is out. And Rotom goes for a Will-O-Wisp. The thing about Thundurus is he's more of a special attacker than a physical attacker. So, yeah, I don't think Will-O-Wisp would work too well here. We'll go for a Max Lightning against Weezing. Down to 5%. And recovers to the yellow here. And Electro Web. Thundurus has Volt Absorb. Weezing with a Pain Split. That actually helps Weezing a lot here. We'll go for another Max Lightning. That should be enough to take down Weezing this time. And it is. And Rotom goes for a Shadow Ball. Doesn't do a whole lot against Thundurus. Swampert is up next. We'll go for a Grass Knot against her. If it hits, it's probably going to be a one-hit KO. Rotom on the Dynamax. Grass Knot takes down Swampert. And Rotom with a Max Phantasm. That will be enough to take down Thundurus. We brought it down to one Pokemon, though, so I guess that's kind of a good thing. Overall, not the best start with double battles here, obviously. We've got Spiritomb and Excadrill against Urshifu and Buffalant. We're going to go for a Wicked Blow against Spiritomb. And I'm going to say a Lash Out against Excadrill. And they go for a switch. Wicked Blow is a critical hit against Spiritomb. And Bouffalant goes next on the Lash Out. It's super effective, but Sigilyph still in the green. And Foul Play resisted by Urshifu. We're going to go once again for a Wicked Blow, this time against Sigilyph. And we'll try a Wild Charge against Spiritomb. Air Slash is super effective and takes down Urshifu. We'll go for Glalie up next. And we're going to go for a Freeze Dry against Sigilyph and a Lash Out against Spiritomb. And Heat Wave misses Glalie, goes for Bouffalant, does a decent amount, but Sigilyph is taken down. Lash Out puts Spiritomb in the red, Bouffalant down to the yellow, and recovers back into the green. Glalie's special attack is very low at the moment. We'll go for an Earthquake with that in mind, and we'll go for a Wild Charge as well. Spiritomb taken down, Dreadnought recovers to the green, Rock Slide, super effective against Glalie, and Bouffalant flinches. Seismitoad is up next, and we're going to play it safe with a Protect. Actually, I'm going to go for an Earthquake with Glalie and Protect with Bouffalant. And Earthquake doesn't do enough against Dreadnought, down to the red, and Muddy Water does enough to take down Glalie. And Dreadnought was going for a Rock Slide as well. That's blocked by Bouffalant. We're going to go for Eldegoss up next. And we're going to go for an Energy Ball against Seismitoad and Lash Out against Dreadnought. They could go for a switch now that Eldegoss is in here. Dreadnought with a Protect. Muddy Water does enough against Bouffalant. Seismitoad down to the yellow, and Energy Ball will take down Seismitoad here. It is 3 against 3, and both of my Pokemon remaining are weak to Dreadnought. But we're going to go for Braviary here. Eternatus is heading out. We're going to go for Energy Ball against Dreadnought. And we'll try a Brave Bird against Eternatus. Flamethrower goes through against Eldegoss, recovers to the green. Brave Bird does a decent amount against Eternatus, recovers back into the green. And Rock Slide, super effective against Braviary. Once again, able to recover to the green, and Dreadnought is out. Escadrille is heading back on. And I'm going to go for a Sleep Powder against Eternatus and a Close Combat against Excadrill. And Escadrille goes for the Dynamax. Eternatus with a Cosmic Power. Max Steel Spike takes down Eldegoss. And Close Combat, how much is that going to do? It doesn't do a whole lot against Excadrill. Blacephalon is the last Pokemon heading into this battle. And we are going to go with a Fire Blast against Excadrill and a Brave Bird. Actually, no. Fire Blast against Excadrill, and we're going to Dynamax and go for a Max Airstream against Eternatus. And Fire Blast. Excadrill still in it, recovers slightly, and Dynamax Cannon goes against Blacephalon. Braviary down to the red. Max Airstream doesn't do a lot against Eternatus. We'll go Fire Blast again to take down Excadrill and go Max Airstream again. Excadrill with the Max Guard and Max Airstream. Eternatus is still in the yellow, and Dynamax Cannon takes down Braviary. It is 2 against 1 here, and Fire Blast is the only move I could use. So Fire Blast will take down Excadrill. And Eternatus looks to recover here. I cannot do anything else against Eternatus. So I think that's going to wrap it up. Dynamax Cannon takes down Blacephalon. Not much I could have done there. It's another loss in doubles, but we've got 3 more battles to go. We've got Darmanitan and Sylveon against Pikachu and Stoutland. We're going to go for a superpower against Stoutland and a hyper voice against both of them. Stoutland starts off with a helping hand here. And Pikachu with the Surf. Darmanitan down to the red. Superpower puts Stoutland down to the red. And recovers to the yellow. Darmanitan eventually down, and Hyper Voice puts Stoutland back to the red. Pikachu is down to the yellow. We're going to go for Ice Cube next. Going to go for a Liquidation against Pikachu and a Hyper Voice again. They go for a switch, and Volt Tackle activates the Ice Face. And Liquidation in response will take down Pikachu. Hyper Voice doesn't do a lot against Cresselia. Are they going to go back to Stoutland? They will not. They will go for Slowbro here. We're going to go for an Icicle Crash against Cresselia. And a Mystical Fire against Slowbro. Icicle Crash doesn't do a whole lot. Icy Wind in response lowers the speed for both of them. And Fire Blast puts Ice Cube deep in the red, recovers to the yellow. Mystical Fire doesn't do a lot, but does lower special attack. We're going to go Liquidation and Hyper Voice. Psychic does a decent amount against Cresselia. Liquidation is a critical hit, but Slowbro able to handle it very well. Hyper Voice puts both of them into the yellow, and they can both recover into the green. We're going to go for Melodic here. I'll be frank, it was one of my favorite Pokemon back then, and I still don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Going to go for a Muddy Water and a Hyper Voice. Cresselia recovers with a Moonlight. Muddy Water puts Slowbro down to the yellow. Shell Side Arm, super effective. Sylveon is out. Beware is up next. We're going to go Muddy Water once again. And we're going to go for the Darkest of Lariats. And it works well against both of them, but we're going to take down Slowbro with that. Psychic does a decent amount against Melodic. Muddy Water does a decent amount against both of them, and Darkest Lariat takes down Slowbro. Up next is Clefable. Gonna go for a Muddy Water once again. Darkest Lariat is the only move I can use. It's gonna work against Cresselia if it hits. And Cresselia goes for the Dynamax, and Max Mindstorm puts Beware down to the yellow. Darkest Lariat puts Cresselia down to the yellow, and a Thunder Wave against Melodic. We'll try and go for a Coil and go for Darkest Lariat again. And Max Mindstorm takes down Beware. Moonblast puts Melodic down to the yellow. And special attack there to help out for Melodic. Garbodor's the last Pokemon heading on. Could work against Clefable here. We're going to go for a Muddy Water, and we're going to go for a Gunk Shot against Clefable. Alright, so we're going to go for a Muddy Water once again. And we're going to go for a Gunk Shot again against Rotom if we can. Electro Web is doing a decent amount here. And Psychic puts Garbodor down to the red, recovers to the yellow. Gunk Shot takes down Rotom. And Muddy Water takes down Cresselia. That's going to be a double KO. And a weakened Stoutland. We can most certainly deal with him or her to cap off this counterattack. I meant to say comeback. We'll go Muddy Water. And we'll go for a Gunk Shot again. And Stoutland goes for a Protect, trying to delay the inevitable. Melodic's paralyzed as well, so we got to be careful of that. If one of these moves hits, it's game over. Facade Doesn't do enough against Garbodor, and Gunk Shot takes down Stoutland. That caps off the comeback, and it's a brilliant win for us here. We've got Kyurem White and Ludicolo against Galarian Articuno and Amoonguss. I'm going to go for a Freeze Dry against Articuno and an Ice Beam against Amoonguss. Articuno starts off with a Calm Mind. Freeze Dry gets a freeze against Articuno, recovers to the green though, and Ice Beam puts Amoonguss down to the yellow, recovers to the green. Pollen Puff goes against Ludicolo, doesn't do a lot there. Freeze Dry is the only move I could use for Kyurem, that's fine. For now, we'll go Ice Beam against Articuno. Kyurem with the Freeze Dry, and Amoonguss is the first one out. Articuno is back down to the yellow. They've got Uxie up next. We'll go Freeze Dry against Articuno. And we'll go for a Fake Out against Uxie. Oh, wait, it only works on my first turn. Yeah, that was rough. And Ludicolo's out. Freeze Dry will take down Articuno, though. So we're still in the lead. I don't have any good options against Uxie. We'll go for Mamoswine here. We're going to go with a Freeze Dry against Uxie and a High Horsepower. Never mind. I was not expecting Pikachu to have a Grass Knot. And Uxie knocks away the Choice Specs, so that's kind of good for me, because it allows me to sort out some other moves. Swoop Out was not a good option for this, but we'll roll with it. We'll go Fusion Flare against Pikachu and a Heat Wave against both of them. Does a lot more against Pikachu than it does Uxie. Volt Tackle takes down Swoobat. Pikachu down to the yellow, and Psychic puts Kyurem down to the yellow, and Fusion Flare takes down Pikachu. It is 3 against 3. We'll go for Reuniclus. Is it Reuniclus or Reuniclus? I don't know exactly how to pronounce that either. Kingler is also heading out, so we're going to go for a Dragon Pulse against Uxie and a Psychic against Kingler. Psychic against Kyurem does a decent amount. Dragon Pulse puts Uxie down to the yellow, recovers to the green. X-Scissors does a lot against Reuniclus, and Psychic takes down Kingler. So the last Pokemon heading out is Sarina. So we'll go for a Freeze Dry against Sarina, and I guess go for a Psychic as well. I don't really have good options to take on Uxie with Reuniclus, and Sarina with the Dynamax, and Kyurem is out. Max Overgrowth takes down Reuniclus as well, and that puts us in a lot of trouble. Hawlucha is the last Pokemon heading out. We're going to go and Dynamax and go for a Max Airstream against Sarina. And the Max Airstream does a decent amount against Sarina. Psychic does a good amount against Hawlucha. Max Strike puts a lot of pressure here. Max Airstream doesn't do enough. And it is Psychic that takes down Hawlucha. That's game. You've got Articuno and Umbreon against Toxtricity and Landorus. I'm going to go for an Ice Beam against Landorus and a Foul Play against Toxtricity. They go for a switch onto Berserker. Boom Burst does a decent amount. Ice Beam, well read. And Foul Play does a bit against Toxtricity. I'm going to go and switch out Articuno. B-Sharp is heading on. And we'll go for a Snarl against both of them. And there's a switch onto Weavile. Berserker with a Protect as well. Snarl doesn't do a lot. We'll go for an Iron Head against Weavile. And we'll go for a foul play against Berserker. There's another switch onto Hawlucha. Iron Head is a critical hit, and foul play is also a critical hit, and Berserker is out. That's the first KO of the game, and Landorus is up next. We'll go with an Iron Head again, and we'll go for a Toxic against Landorus. And they go for a close combat. Umbreon down to the red. Hawlucha recovers back to normal with the white herb, and Earth Power is a one-hit KO. The Toxic goes against Landorus, and we are going to go back to Articuno here. And we're going to go with an Ice Beam against Landorus, and a foul play against Hawlucha. I don't know if that will be enough to take Hawlucha down. I knew they were opting for the switch, and close combat takes down Umbreon as well. Ice Beam does a good amount though. Toxtricity down to the red. So up next for us is Spectrier, and we're gonna go for an Ice Beam against Hawlucha this time, and a Shadow Ball against Toxtricity. Close combat doesn't do enough against Articuno. Recovers onto the green. Snarl is super effective against Spectrier. Lowers both of their special attacks, but Shadow Ball takes down Toxtricity. And Ice Beam takes down Hawlucha. That will be a double KO. Sharpedo and Weavile up next. And we're going to go with a Hurricane against Weavile. And Spectrier has no options here, so I'm going to switch out and go for Cloyster. Knockoff does a decent amount, knocks away the white herb. And Crunch also goes against Cloyster. Hurricane doesn't do a whole lot against Weavile. We'll try and go for a Roost here, and we'll also go for a Hydro Pump against Weavile. Crunch will take down Cloyster, and Triple Axle misses Articuno. So Volcarona is going to be heading out. We'll go for a Hurricane against Sharpedo, and we'll charge up with a Quiver Dance if we can. We cannot. Volcarona is down, and Weavile charges up with a Swords Dance. Hurricane confuses Sharpedo. Spectrier is the last Pokemon heading on for us, and I'm going to Dynamax with Articuno. Max Airstream against Weavile, and I guess a Dark Pulse against Sharpedo. Sharpedo lands the Crunch, takes down Spectrier, and Knockoff does a decent amount against Articuno. Max Airstream will take down Weavile with a critical hit. Landorus heading back out. We'll go for a Max Hailstorm there. Sharpedo snaps out of its confusion there. Goes for a Crunch. Max Hailstorm takes down Landorus. And the Hail takes down Sharpedo. And that gives us a victory here. Alright, we've got Weavile against Rapidash. I'm entirely Ice. And I'm hoping my opponent isn't entirely Fire.
Okay.
Knockoff knocks away Heavy Duty Boots here. And Rapidash goes for a Flare Blitz. It's a one-hit KO. Rapidash eventually taken down as well. So we're going to go for Walrein here. And my opponent is entirely Fire type. We're going to go for a Surf Blaziken with a Swords Dance. And Surf puts Blaziken down to 5%. So it has to get a big hit. Goes for a close combat. And Walrein is out. Blaziken eventually out as well, though. We're going to go for Kyurem up next. We've got Talonflame. So Fusion Bolt should be perfect here. Notice how every Pokemon is trying to charge up with a Swords Dance. Not to say that it isn't working. Talonflame's out. The heavy recoil is going to cost you there. Heatmore's up next. We're going to go for a Fusion Bolt. Doesn't do a lot. In response, goes for a Fire Lash. That's enough to take down Kyurem. Up next, I'm going to go for a Mamoswine. And I'm going to Dynamax. Max Quake. Let's see how much that does. It does take down Heatmore. Up next is Volcanion. Goes for the Dynamax as well. Max Quake does a good amount. In response, Volcanion goes for a Max Flare. That does almost nothing. So Max Quake takes down Volcanion. The last Pokemon remaining is going to be Heatran. Both of us have used up our Dynamaxes here. That's a one-hit KO. That is game. Now, it's not really what you guys would expect out of a fire versus ice matchup, but this is the importance of taking advantage of dual types here. We had a water ice type and a ground ice type, Walrein and Mamoswine respectively, and we used that to try and capitalize on the fire type's weaknesses. Just a bit of potentially obvious advice in case you guys decide to go for monotype battles as well. We've got Togedemaru against Toxtricity here. I'm entirely Steel. That could either be a big advantage or a slight disadvantage here. I'm gonna go for a Zing Zap to start things off. It's not very effective, but it does cause a flinch. Basically, Zing Zap is the electric type equivalent of Iron Head, which Togedemaru also has. So with that being said, it looks like my opponent is entirely poison. Iron Head does a decent amount. Nidoking goes for a substitute there. I'm going to go for a Wish. There's the Earth Power. There's a Focus Sash as well. And Iron Head knocks away the substitute, but the Earth Power doesn't pan out. The only Pokemon that isn't weak to ground is Scizor. So we're going to go for a Bullet Punch against Nidoking. That doesn't do enough. Earth Power puts Scizor down to the yellow. Bullet Punch again. This time will take down Nidoking. Are they going to go back to Toxtricity here? They are. So I'm going to charge up with a Swords Dance if I can. Boom Burst does a lot there. And Toxtricity with some extra special attack, that'll be enough to take down Scizor. Who do I go for on this one? We're going to go for Dialga. And we're going to go with a Fire Blast against Toxtricity. Does a decent amount there. Boom Burst in response also does a pretty good amount. We'll go for Draco Meteor this time, and it will take down Toxtricity. So I might go for a switch here. It goes to Scolipede. I'm going to switch to Kling Kling on this one. And Spikes heading on. They most likely anticipated that switch. Gonna charge up with a Shift Gear. My opponent goes for the Dynamax. Has a Max Quake as well. So up next, we're going to go for a Gear Grind. If we can, wow, Scolipede is still faster here. And he's got Speed Boost as well. So we're going to go back to Dialga. And we'll see if we can land a Fire Blast. Dialga at 2%. Fire Blast probably won't do too much. Yeah, it doesn't do enough there. And now we're up against a Scolipede at 3 times speed. Deciding not to attack, Fire Blast does a bit more and causes a burn. Earthquake is going to be enough to take down Dialga here. So we're going to go for Aggron. And we're going to go with a Dynamax Max Rockfall. Megahorn does almost nothing, but does pop the balloon. Max Rockfall is enough to take down Scolipede here. So up next is Gengar. We're going to go Max Rockfall again. Focus Blast misses Aggron. Gotta be careful of that. Max Rockfall is a one-hit KO against Gengar. Venusaur is up next. And we'll go Max Rockfall again. If we can, Sleep Powder puts Aggron to sleep for his last Dynamax move and then some. Venusaur with a substitute. Aggron wakes up, misses a head smash. We're going to go for a Heavy Slam here if we can. There's another Sleep Powder. And Giga Drain does a decent amount against Aggron. The sooner he wakes up, the better. If he even wakes up at all. Giga Drain puts Aggron down to the red. Still not going to wake up, and Aggron is out. Doublade is the last Pokemon heading into this battle. We're going to go for an Iron Head. Sleep Powder puts Doublade to sleep again. Just going to spam Giga Drain. The substitute still hasn't been broken. Doublade eventually wakes up, breaks through that substitute, and another Sleep Powder inflicted. Venusaur's going to take down the entirety of my team at this point. Just spams Sleep Powder, goes for a substitute when need be, and also has Giga Drain. Doublade wakes up again, lands the Iron Head. Doublade gets taken down by the Giga Drain in the end. So a bit of a rough loss there. Alright, so we've got Absol against Heliolisk. So I've got entirely dark types here. We're going to go for a Play Rough to start off. Thunderbolt does a massive amount, and Play Rough misses. Sucker Punch does a decent amount against Heliolisk, but Absol is the first one out. I'm going to go for Zarude up next. And we're going to go for the darkest of Lariats. We'll see if it pans out. Thunderbolt resisted, and Darkest Lariat takes down Heliolisk. And it looks like my opponent is entirely electric. Tapu Koko is up next, and that puts me at a disadvantage. Because with the fact that my team is entirely dark type, and Tapu Koko is entirely fairy type, I'm not sure if there's anything that can be done about that. Dazzling Gleam should be enough, and it does take down Zarude there. We're going to go for Tyranitar. And we're going to go with a Fire Punch. And they go for a switch onto Vikavolt. That is a read. And the Fire Punch puts Vikavolt down to the yellow. Now that I think about it, why would they go to Vikavolt there? Fire Punch will take down Vikavolt. So will they go back to Tapu Koko? They will not. They're going to go for Thunderous here. Another Pokemon that is weak to rock. Max Overgrowth, that's a fair play, but Stone Edge does about the same amount. Is the Max Overgrowth going to do enough here? It doesn't look like it will, and Stone Edge will take down Thunderous. Manectric is up next, and we're going to go Stone Edge again, if we can, and we cannot. Volt Switch takes down Tyranitar, and they're going to go back to Tapu Koko. We're going to go for Umbreon here. I'm going to set up a Toxic on this one. Dazzling Gleam does a good amount. And here's the Toxic. And Tapu Koko down to 6%. I'm going to go for a Protect here. And Thunderbolt is blocked. Tapu Koko is out. Up next is Manectric. We're going to go for a Toxic again. Is that the only move I could use now? Oh, that's clever. Manectric on the trick, on the switcheroo. And that puts Umbreon with Toxic as its only move, so I'm going to switch out. Urshifu is heading on. Thunderbolt does a lot against Urshifu. We're going to go for a Drain Punch if we can, and we cannot. Gonna go Umbreon again, and we're gonna go with a foul play this time. Get on the attack. Does a decent amount. Manectric down to the yellow. Umbreon down to the yellow as well. Toxic's starting to take its toll there. And Manectric is out. Zapdos is the last Pokemon heading on. Foul play does a decent amount. Discharge doesn't do enough against Umbreon. We'll keep Umbreon on, though. Eventually gets taken down. Zapdos at the yellow here. Gonna go for Galarian Moltres. And we'll try a Max Darkness. Is that gonna be enough, though? My opponent decides not to Dynamax, but recovers back to full. Max Darkness does a decent amount, lowers special defense. So if Zapdos doesn't go for a Roost or a Dynamax here, that will be costly. Goes for a Discharge. That doesn't do enough. Max Darkness wraps up this game. And it ends up being a close one, though. Galarian Moltres wins it in the end. Alright, so I've got options against Crustle. We're going to go for a Dragon Dance. We're going to charge up to start off. And it looks like my opponent's doing the same thing with a Shell Smash. We're going to try a V-Create. That goes first, but Crustle hangs on here, goes for a Stone Edge, and Rayquaza is out. We're going to go for Cramorant next. I don't know why I was about to say Noctowl. We'll go for a Surf. And Stone Edge is another one-hit KO and a critical hit against Cramorant. We'll go for Mandibuzz on this one. We'll try a Brave Bird here. And Stone Edge is another one-hit KO. Am I about to be swept here? Another one-hit KO on the Stone Edge. Braviary is up next. I'm gonna Dynamax and see if that does anything. Stone Edge goes first, and it's still a one-hit KO and a critical hit. Charizard's the last one. And I got absolutely embarrassed there. That is the quickest monotype battle you're ever going to see. We've got Steelix against Slurpuff. My team is entirely fairy types. So if I don't play my cards right here, this could put me in a lot of trouble. We're going for a Belly Drum to start off. Heavy Slam takes down Slurpuff. No hesitation there. That's the first KO of the game. Gonna go for Mawile. And we're gonna go for a Stealth Rock. See if that could do anything for us. And Steelix goes for a Dragon Dance. Sucker Punch does not pan out. My opponent's going Dragon Dance again. Gonna try to play rough. Probably won't do a lot here. I think Steelix is trying to sweep my team. It worked with Crustle last time. Steelix is charging up again. I'm going to switch out to Azumarill. Steelix is trying to max out attack and speed here. Now goes for the Heavy Slam. It takes down Azumarill. I think the sweep is starting. Gonna try and go for a Darkest Lariat here if we can. Heavy Slam is super effective. And Grimmsnarl is out. Gardevoir is next. Don't have anything good. I guess go for a Moonblast here. Heavy Slam goes and Gardevoir is down. Magiarna's next. Don't have too many options there either. There's an Earthquake and Magiarna is out. So this is going to be a 6-0 sweep again, isn't it? Earthquake takes down Mawile. A quick closer and a terrible one in monotype battles here. It's interesting how it was monotype battles that had me 6-0'd twice in a row. I expected that to happen in like singles or doubles battles potentially, but now that that's out of the way, let's just move on to free-for-all battles here, shall we? We've got Alolan Dugtrio, Zapdos, Poltegeist, and Buzzwole. We're going to go for a stored power against Buzzwole to open things up. Dugtrio with a Protect. Close combat is blocked. Thunderbolt does a decent amount against Poltegeist. Disabled by the Cursed Body. And stored power does almost nothing, and I think I know why. I didn't have any stat adjustments here. Does Poltegeist? Yep, Poltegeist has a white herb, so we're going to go for a Shell Smash here. Might be too little too late if we're not careful. Dugtrio's the first one out. A heavy close combat here. And Hurricane takes down Poltegeist. So with that, I'm going to go for Mawile. My opponent goes for Mimikyu here. We're going to go for a Fire Fang. No, we won't. We'll go for a Play Rough against Buzzwole. Mimikyu with a Swords Dance. Hurricane misses. Intended for Buzzwole. Close combat puts Mawile down to the yellow, recovers to the green, and Play Rough misses. Gonna try and charge up this time with a Swords Dance. Mimikyu with a Protect. Hurricane takes down Buzzwole. And Swords Dance is getting activated here. Naganadel is up next. Play Rough against Zapdos this time. Mimikyu goes for the Dynamax. Flamethrower takes down Mawile. Mimikyu goes for a Max Starfall to take down Naganadel. And Thunderbolt breaks through the disguise here. Doesn't do a whole lot. Wow, 3 of my Pokemon are weak to Zapdos, and the other one is weak to Mimikyu. So I'm hoping that Mimikyu doesn't go for me. We're going to go for a Psychic against Zapdos. Dreadnought on the Dynamax. Mimikyu with a Max Guard. Thunderbolt is blocked. Psychic does a decent amount against Zapdos. Max Rockfall takes down Zapdos here. So everyone, well, I was going to say everyone was at 5 Pokemon, but no, I'm at 4, and Default I is also at 4. Vaporeon is up next. We're going to go for another Psychic, and that will go against Vaporeon. And Max Starfall does a decent amount against Dreadnought. Psychic does not do too much. Max Rockfall does a decent amount against Mimikyu, eventually down to the yellow from the Scald. So we're going to go for a Psychic this time against Mimikyu. Waiting on Default I here. Mimikyu with a Protect. Vaporeon with a Protect as well. Psychic is blocked. And Max Geyser does a decent amount against Mimikyu there. We're going to go for a Psychic to take down Mimikyu this time. Dreadnought with a Swords Dance. Play Rough does a decent amount. Psychic is a critical hit, and Mimikyu is out. Tangrowth is up next. So I'm going to go for a Helping Hand, just to make things interesting. Dreadnought with a Protect. Vaporeon with a Protect as well. Tangrowth with a Rage Powder. So yeah, it doesn't look like that Helping Hand is panning out. Liquidation takes down Cresselia. So Dreadnought is now asleep from Tangrowth's Sleep Powder. Can we capitalize on that? We've got a couple of options here. I don't want to go for close combat. We're going to go for a knockoff against Vaporeon. Vaporeon with a Protect. Tangrowth with the Rage Powder. And Knockoff goes against Tangrowth, knocks away the Citrus Berry. I have no idea what you were thinking there. I said I wouldn't go for close combat, but I think I'm gonna have to. We're gonna go against Dreadnought here. And Dreadnought wakes up, goes for liquidation. Machamp in a bit of trouble there. Eventually down to the yellow, there's an Icy Wind as well, and close combat takes down Dreadnought. Power Whip takes Vaporeon down to the red, recovers to the yellow. And now Machamp is down to the red. We might have a DQ in our hands here. Default Eye is struggling to make a decision. I think he might be the first one out by inactivity. And there it is. So with that, we're going to go for a close combat against Vaporeon. Vaporeon with a Protect. Tangrowth with the Rage Powder, and close combat takes down Tangrowth. It was intended for Vaporeon, though. I still have no idea why you would use Rage Powder again. Scrafty is up next. Gonna go for a close combat against Vaporeon again. And Scald does a decent amount against Scrafty. Coaching to increase attack and defense. That pans out. And Vaporeon is taken down. We've got Yveltal up next. So we're going to go for a close combat once again. Try and bring Yveltal down to our level. Well, not Yveltal, but the Pokemon trainer, obviously. Oblivion Wing takes down Machamp. About what you expected. Coaching will go against Yveltal. We're going to go for Amistar up next. Doesn't have a rock-type move, but we do have Ice Beam. Knockoff goes against Amistar here. Close combat also goes against Amistar. Why are they teaming up against me? The last Pokemon remaining is Ribombee, and the only attack I have on the Dynamax is Max Starfall. Could get a few KOs in there, to be fair. There's the Dynamax. And Max Starfall is a one-hit KO against Yveltal. Scrafty with some coaching as well. So who's next? It is going to be Frostlass. Alright, going to go for another Max Starfall here. Max Starfall does a decent amount, but doesn't do enough. Frostlass recovers back into the green. Ice Beam does a decent amount, and Knockoff super effective. Frostlass is still in it. There's a Cursed Body as well. Gonna go for Max Starfall one more time here. And Frostlass is out. Ice Punch doesn't do a lot against Ribombee. So up next, who's it gonna be? It is gonna be Alolan Raichu. Gonna go for a Moonblast, and that's gonna go against Scrafty this time. And Moonblast takes down Scrafty. Raichu with a Thunderbolt. Ribombee still in it. Recovers to the yellow. We've got Gengar up next. That could spell trouble for me here. Could spell trouble for both of us, to be fair. Moonblast goes against Raichu. Down to the yellow. Goes for a Psyshock. Gengar down to the red. Psyshock is disabled, and Shadow Ball goes against Raichu. And now I'm not the only one down to my last Pokemon here. We're going to go for a Moonblast against Gengar this time. And Mr. Mime goes for the Dynamax. Moonblast takes down Gengar. And Mr. Mime fails on the Max Mindstorm. Zapdos is heading out. Moonblast has been disabled for me, so I'm going to go and use a Helping Hand with Zapdos here. That didn't work. Max Hailstorm takes Zapdos down. All I've really got are status moves here. And Tailwind for Ribombee. Max Mindstorm takes Ribombee down. And Daddy Diddy Do wins the first free-for-all battle of this video. Alright, so I'm starting off with Melodic here. I've got options. I'm just going to charge up. We're going to go for Coil. And they go for an early switch onto Scrafty. And Kingler goes for a Protect. Volt Tackle is a one-hit KO against Melodic. First KO of the game there. In response, I'm going to go for a Swampert. I'm going to use a high horsepower against Pikachu. Gardevoir heading out now. Volt Tackle does a lot against Kingler there. Still in it, and Liquidation will take down Pikachu. Linoon is up next. Gonna go for an Icy Wind on this one. There's a Protect by Linoon. Psyshock is blocked. Superpower is blocked. Icy Wind doesn't do a whole lot. It does lower their speed, though. It was a good call for Linoon to go for a Protect there. We'll go for a high horsepower against Gardevoir. There's a Protect by Kingler. A Belly Drum by Linoon. So we got to be very careful of that. High horsepower does a decent amount. Mystical Fire doesn't do a lot. We're going to go for a high horsepower against Linoon, who goes for a Protect again. Gardevoir with a Protect as well. High horsepower is blocked, and superpower is blocked. I'm going to go high horsepower again, this time against Gardevoir. It's interesting to see who Linoon goes for here. It is going to be against Swampert. That's a KO. I'm going to go for Giratina next. We're going to go for a Shadow Ball against Gardevoir. Throat Chop is a one-hit KO against Giratina. Linoon is undoubtedly going for me here. Up next, we've got Vikavolt. And Farfetch'd is also heading out. Gonna go for a Thunderbolt here. Linoon goes for a Protect. Farfetch'd on the Protect as well. Everyone's protecting except for me. So I guess now would be a good time for me to Protect. And Extreme Speed takes down Kingler. And a Swords Dance by Farfetch'd. Duraludon is up next. We're going to go for a Thunderbolt against Linoon. Quick Attack does a decent amount. Throat Chop also does a lot against Duraludon. And unable to use certain moves. Was he trying to use a Hyper Voice there? Thunderbolt takes down Linoon eventually. We're going to go for... We're up against Theory and Landorus next. We're going to go for a Thunderbolt against Farfetch'd here. Duraludon with a Protect. Quick Attack does a pretty good amount. Landorus with a Swords Dance. And Thunderbolt takes down Farfetch'd. Colossal is up next. Gonna go for a Thunderbolt against Duraludon. Draco Meteor takes down Landorus here. Thunderbolt does a decent amount against Duraludon. Stealth Rock. That's a big play there. A big call by Colossal. Trying to make sure we stick with certain Pokemon. We're going to go for a Thunderbolt against Duraludon again. Togekiss with a Protect. Duraludon with a Protect. Everyone's protecting again except for me. So with that, I'm going to Protect. And Flamethrower goes against Vikavolt. That is blocked. Snarl does not do a lot. Special attack is lower here. That was an illusion by Zoroark. I did not notice that. We're going to go for Thunderbolts against Duraludon again. And Duraludon goes for a Protect again. Flamethrower does a decent amount against Vikavolt. Thunderbolt is blocked. And Fire Blast also goes against Vikavolt. That's a KO. And I'm stuck with two Psychic types here. We're going to go for Mew up next. And we're going to set up some Toxic Spikes. Flamethrower takes down Duraludon here. Musharna is up next. I'm going to go ahead and set up my second layer of Toxic Spikes. Musharna with a Protect. And Dark Pulse, of course it was going to go against Mew, but handles it well, recovers back into the green. Zoroark is eventually taken down. Up next is Tyrantrum. So we're going to go for a Pollen Puff against Musharna. And Pollen Puff does not do a lot against Musharna. Recovers back into the green. High horsepower takes down Colossal. And Musharna fails on the Hypnosis. Sandaconda is up next. We're going to go for a Psychic against Sandaconda. And they go for a switch onto Melmetal. Sandaconda with a Protect as well. And Dragon Claw is also blocked. And Shed Skin cures Sandaconda of its poisoning. That's a big play. Psychic again, this time against Melmetal. Doesn't do a lot. Sandaconda with a Coil there. High horsepower does a bit more against Melmetal. And in response, Melmetal with a double Iron Bash, and Mew is still in it at 8%. We're going to go for Psychic against Sandaconda this time. They're going to go back to Musharna as I play that card. And Sandaconda with a Protect to block the Psychic and the high horsepower. Pollen Puff to go against Musharna this time. Somebody disconnected. Is that going to be another disqualification from inactivity? Sandaconda goes for a Gigantamax here. Pollen Puff doesn't do enough against Musharna, but the Max Sandblast takes Musharna down. Mew is eventually down as well. So I'm down to my last Pokemon. My other opponents have 3 Pokemon remaining. And Komo is one of them. One of the many that I have to face in this world of horrors. We're going to go for an Air Slash. Does a decent amount there. Puts Komo down to the yellow, recovers to the green, goes for Iron Defense, Max Sandblast. I think Komo was trying to read that. So this time I'm going to play it a bit defensive and go for a Reflect. Sandaconda with a Max Guard there, and Draco Meteor is blocked. Komo is down. Melmetal is heading back on. We're going to go for a Heat Wave this time. And Heat Wave does a decent amount. High horsepower will take down Melmetal, though. Sandaconda is the new common enemy, and Magmortar is the last Pokemon heading out. That is for KGY. Does that stand for anything? Magmortar with the Dynamax. Sandaconda goes for the Protect. Air Slash is blocked. Max Flare is not as well blocked. Sandaconda's still in the green, though. I'm going to Dynamax as well here and go for a Max Airstream. And that will take down Sandaconda. So who's next? It is going to be Scrafty. Heading back on, has that Intimidate. Joke's on you. Max Airstream is a special attack. Super effective, but still in it. And Max Flare takes Scrafty down. It's a last stock scenario. And the last Pokemon heading out is going to be Alolan Ninetales. We're going to go for a Max Flare this time. Magmortar with the Protect, and Max Flare puts Ninetales down to the red. Blizzard in response. Xatu in a bit of trouble. All of the Dynamaxes are over and done with. It's anybody's game now. Gonna go for a Heat Wave to go against both of them. Hopefully Magmortar doesn't have Flash Fire. Ninetales is out, and Thunderbolt takes down Xatu. So KGY wins this one by 4%. I will say that was a good game. So we've got Solrock, Turtonator, Naganadel, and Malamar here. I'm going to go for a Rock Slide. They go for an early switch, and it doesn't seem like a very good one. Charizard has no idea that Solrock is still in effect. Superpower, I think they were trying to read... Well, I wouldn't say they were trying to read that because Naganadel would still resist it. It's an interesting call going with Charizard instead of Naganadel, and it doesn't seem like one that's going to work. Also, Malamar has the Superpower Contrary strategy intact, and the Flare Blitz proves it. It doesn't do a lot. Superpower is blocked. Moongeist Beam goes against Solrock, still in it, and recovers to the yellow. So I'm going to go with a helping hand in hopes that Necrozma doesn't go for me. Heat Wave misses Necrozma. Superpower will take down Charizard here. And Necrozma goes with the Moongeist Beam, and Malamar is out. Sigilyph is heading out, and Barraskewda is heading out. Gonna go for a Rock Slide again. Sigilyph with a Protect. Flip turn, takes down Solrock there. And I think Barraskewda is gonna switch out. It's gonna go to Frost Rotom. Moongeist Beam is blocked. We're gonna go with Clefairy up next. I don't know why they have Clefairy in these kinds of battles here. Moonblast is a good move, but at the same time, Clefairy has a move where attacks can literally go against her. Much like that Rage Powder with Tangrowth. I guess go for a Helping Hand with Necrozma in hopes that Necrozma doesn't go for me. Rotom with a Protect. Necrozma goes for a Thunder Wave, well read by Rhyperior. So we're going to go for a Moonblast this time, and we're going to go against Rotom. Rotom with a nasty plot here. Photon Geyser goes against Rotom. Does a decent amount there. Moonblast puts Rotom down to the yellow. Rock Slide misses Rhyperior, but Rotom is out. Barraskewda heading back on. And Liquidation takes down Rhyperior. Photon Geyser was intended for Rhyperior, as was the Moonblast. I have no idea how Clefairy is still in this one, but Quillfish is on. We're going to go for a Moonblast against Necrozma this time. And Liquidation does a decent amount against Clefairy. Toxic Spikes by Quillfish. Photon Geyser goes against Clefairy down to the red. Moonblast in response does a decent amount. Lowers special attack as well. I'm going to go for a Protect here. Liquidation is blocked. Toxic Spikes go through again, and Photon Geyser is also blocked. Going to try and set up a Moonblast this time. And Quillfish with a Protect. Liquidation will take down Clefairy. And Photon Geyser is blocked. So up next, we're going to go for Marshadow. Under the Toxic, we're going to go for Spectral Thief. And this one's a bit of an experiment. Oh my... I was not expecting that to be a one-hit KO. That was with lowered attack as well. Is Marshadow's defense really that bad? We're going to go for Toxtricity here. We're going to go for Overdrive and see if that pans out. They go for a switch onto Terrakion. Quillfish protects here. Overdrive does a decent amount against both of them. Photon Geyser is blocked again. Overdrive's the only move I can use. I'm okay with that. We'll see what happens from here. Rock Slide does a decent amount. And Liquidation will take down Necrozma here. Overdrive takes down Quillfish. And with that, Terrakion can recover back into the green, gets taken down into the yellow. Things are starting to get interesting here. Espeon is up next. Arctozolt is alongside Espeon here. I don't really have too many options to switch out. We'll stick with the Overdrive. Espeon with a Protect. In close combat, Arctozolt down to 7%. And Overdrive. There's a Volt Absorb by Arctozolt. Recovers to the yellow, but Terrakion is out. Talonflame is up next. So with that, I'm going to switch out. Sylveon is heading on. Talonflame with a Defog. Dazzling Gleam does a decent amount. And Blizzard does a decent amount as well, I guess. We're going to go for a multi-attack against Talonflame. And they go for a switch onto Barraskewda. Espeon with a Protect and multi-attack puts Barraskewda down to the red. Boltbeak does a decent amount against Sylveon, and Arctozolt is out. They go for Weevil up next. We're going to go for another multi-attack. And Flip Turn takes down Sylveon. Barraskewda has to switch out as well. Goes back to Talonflame. Decent read on the triple Axel. And only hits 2 times apparently. We're going to go back to Toxtricity here. And we're going to go for an Overdrive again. Espeon on the Protect. Incinerate. Does a decent amount. Does a bit more against Weavile. Triple Axel is blocked. An Overdrive takes down Talonflame with a critical hit. Up next is Barraskewda. Again. Close combat resisted and Toxtricity is still in it. Triple Axel. Is that going to do enough against Espeon? Down to the red. Dazzling Gleam. That will be the first triple kill. The first triple KO in Pokemon Showdown history on this channel. Well played by Espeon. And with that, 2 people are with 3 Pokemon, and 1 person, well, 2 people are with 1 Pokemon remaining. We've got Melmetal, Amistar, and Centiskorch, and I'm gonna Dynamax. Just making sure that I'm not the first one out. Centiskorch with a coil. What is Amistar gonna do? Going for a Shell Smash here. Has the white herb as well. Max Lightning, Amistar down to the yellow. Gonna go for a Max Lightning once again. And Amistar with the Dynamax. Centiskorch with a Gigantamax. And Espeon with a Morning Sun to recover. Goes for a Max Centiferno. And Espeon is out. And Max Lightning is blocked. Naganadel is up next. And we're gonna go for a Max Lightning against Centiskorch this time. And Naganadel on the Dynamax here. Max Quake. Melmetal down to 1%. Recovers a slight bit. Max Ooze. Doesn't do a whole lot against Centiskorch. Max Centiferno in response is also resisted. And Max Lightning doesn't do a lot against Centiskorch either. Melmetal is the first one out of the Dynamax. And Max Quake takes down Melmetal. So that's it from me. Max Ooze will take down Centiskorch. So up next is Turtonator, conceding the Toxic Poison there. Max Guard by Naganadel, blocks the Ice Beam. A Shell Smash here. And Turtonator has the white herb. Amistar down to 6% here. Ice Beam takes down Naganadel. Dragon Pulse was also intended for Naganadel here, and Amistar is out. It's 2 against 1. Sigilyph is the last one remaining. What's the call by Turtonator? There's a Dragon Pulse down to the yellow here. Air Slash puts Turtonator down to the yellow, eventually down to the red with the Toxic. Sigilyph with a Protect. Just gonna let the Toxic run out here. What a play by Sigilyph. Jellicent is the last one. Has a bit of a type advantage though. Even though Jellicent is under the Toxic, he's got a bit of a type advantage and uses it to full effect. And with that, we have ourselves a winner. We've got 2 more free-for-all games to go. I don't think I've won a single one yet. Oh, look who's back. We're going to go for Tri-Attack against Heliolisk here. Shedinja starts off with a Protect. Heliolisk goes for a Glare against me. And Swords Dance to increase Decidueye's attack. And Tri-Attack doesn't do a whole lot against Heliolisk. The thing about Tri-Attack that I like, it's possible to burn, paralyze, or freeze a Pokemon. And that's my main intention behind using Tri-Attack. There's a Glare against Decidueye as well. Heliolisk is looking to go against everyone. Tri-Attack burns Heliolisk, recovers onto the green though. I don't really have too many options with Porygon 2. Heliolisk with a Protect. Porygon protects as well. Not a very eventful turn here. We're gonna go for a Thunderbolt, and I think we're gonna have to go against Heliolisk here. There's a Glare against Shedinja here. Swords Dance for Decidueye, and Poltergeist goes through, and Decidueye is the first one out. Quagsire is up next, and they go for a switch onto Jellicent. Well read on the high horsepower, and Poltergeist is a bit of a read here. It goes against Jellicent, and that is a KO. Big plays by Shedinja. So Heliolisk is heading back out. We're going to go for a Tri-Attack against Quagsire. Heliolisk on the Protect. Blocks the high horsepower. Tri-Attack hits Quagsire there. And Shedinja unable to make its move. We'll go for a Protect this time. Goes first here, and Hyper Voice can only go against Quagsire. Doesn't do a lot. Recovers to the green, and high horsepower is a critical hit, and Heliolisk is out. Leafeon is up next. We're going to go Tri-Attack against Leafeon here. They go for a switch, and Fan Rotom is heading out. Knockoff. Shedinja has the Sash, so still in it. Porygon 2 unable to make its move, and Poltergeist takes down Rotom. They go for Double next. We're going to go Thunderbolt against Double. I literally don't have anything against Shedinja here. And Thunderbolt does a decent amount here. And Shedinja unable to make its move this time around. We're going to go for a Tri-Attack against Leafeon. Knockoff knocks away the Eviolite. And Thunderwave paralyzes Leafeon. Tri-Attack does a decent amount there. X-Scissor as well. Leafeon is out. Diggersby is up next. We're going to go for a Tri-Attack against Double. Double Edge goes against Diggersby here. Swords Dance in response, trying to build up. Tri-Attack does a decent amount, recovers to the green though, and X-Scissor will take down Diggersby. Dracozolt is up next. We're going to Tri-Attack against Double here. Goes for a Protect this time, and Aerial Ace will take down Shedinja. It was about time. So up next for Shinobu Vamp, it is going to be Venusaur. We're going to go for a Tri-Attack against Venusaur here. And there is a Mist Thunder Wave against Venusaur. Aerial Ace goes against Porygon 2, unable to make its move. There was a Leech Seed against Dracozolt as well. We're going to go for a Thunderbolt against Double this time. Venusaur with a Protect. Thunder Wave is blocked. Aerial Ace is blocked. And Thunderbolt puts Double onto the yellow. We're going to go for a Tri-Attack against Venusaur here. Zen Headbutt, super effective. Leech Seed to go against Porygon 2, and Aerial Ace takes down Venusaur. Glastrier's up next. I was not intending for a switch there. We'll go for a Tri-Attack against Glastrier here. And Double goes for a Thunder Wave. Glastrier is paralyzed, and Aerial Ace puts Porygon 2 down to the red. Close combat in response, and Double is out. And Porygon 2 taken down from the Leech Seed. We're going to go for Passimian next. My opponent goes for Quagsire. And we're going to go for a Rock Slide. Rock Slide misses Dracozolt. Does more against Glastrier than it does Quagsire. Aerial Ace super effective against Passimian. And Quagsire is in full health. Concedes a bit from that close combat, however. Rock Slide is the only move I can use. And considering the fact that Passimian is a bit low on HP, I think I'm going to have to stick with it. Rock Slide does a lot there. Glastrier recovers to the green, a flinch, a double flinch, and high horsepower. Why would he not go against Dracozolt there? It was intended for Quagsire, and it's missed him. Glastrier's paralyzed, and Rock Slide again. Dracozolt and Glastrier down to the red. There's a flinch. Quagsire able to recover, and Dracozolt is out. Blueberry Boss is down to his last Pokemon, and it's Rayquaza. Dragon Dance by Rayquaza, and Rock Slide will take down Glastrier. High horsepower will not be enough against Passimian. Still in it at 7%, and Heliolisk is up next. And Rayquaza goes for the Dynamax, and so does Heliolisk. Max Airstream does a good amount against Quagsire. Max Overgrowth also against Quagsire. They get the double team against him there. And Rock Slide puts Rayquaza down to the yellow. Up next is Kommo-o. We'll go for Rock Slide again because we kind of have to. And Max Wormwind goes against Heliolisk here. Passimian's got increased attack, and Max Lightning Rayquaza down to the red. So who's going to go next? Rock Slide goes next, but it misses Rayquaza. And a flinch against Kommo-o. Max Guard by Heliolisk, and Max Airstream goes against Passimian. Took long enough for him to get KO'd, to be fair. Up next, we're going to go for Tangrowth. And we're going to go with a Focus Blast against Kommo-o. And Kommo-o goes for a Protect. Dragon Ascent is a one-hit KO against Tangrowth. So up next, we're going to go for Liepard here. I have a feeling they're going to team up against me again. We'll go for a Foul Play against Rayquaza, who takes down Heliolisk with that Dragon Claw, gets taken down himself. Body Press is a critical hit, and another one-hit KO against Liepard. Blueberry Boss is out, and everyone else is at 2 Pokemon here. We're going to go for Slowbro. Magmortar is also heading out, so that's pretty good for me. Would have been a lot better if Slowbro had a Psychic type attack, but Ice Beam could do some damage here. Kommo-o with the Dynamax. Thunderbolt is resisted, and Max Wormwind in response does a good amount against Slowbro. Lowers attack as well. Ice Beam doesn't do a whole lot, recovers back into the green. Fire Blast does not do a lot against Kommo-o here. Max Wormwind, Slowbro is still in it, and recovers to the yellow. And Scald is super effective. Magmortar is down to the red. Thunderbolt will take down Slowbro here. And Kommo-o fails on the Max Wormwind. And that is it for Phyllis's Dynamax. So my last Pokemon is going to be Kyurem White. And now's a good time for me to go for my Dynamax. We're going to go for a Max Wormwind against Kommo-o. Kommo-o with a Protect. Heat Wave does a somewhat decent amount against Kyurem, but Magmortar eventually gets taken down. Kommo-o down to the red as well. Shinobu Vamp is down to his last Pokemon, and it is going to be Pheromosa. So I'm going to go Max Wormwind once again against Kommo-o. And Ice Beam takes down Kommo-o. Slowking is the last Pokemon heading out for Phyllis. We're going to go for a Max Wormwind once again. And there is a Throat Chop that goes against Slowking, already down to the red. Recovers to the yellow though, goes for a Nasty Plot to show that she's more of a special attacker. We're going to go and make things interesting. Fusion Flare against Pheromosa. Throat Chop doesn't do enough against Slowking, and Fusion Flare is a one-hit KO, and Slowking recovers with a Slack Off. Back onto the green, Dragon Pulse doesn't do a lot. Slowking trying to recover to full health here. We're going to go for a Freeze Dry. Super effective against Slowking. Goes for a Scald. That does a lot. And Kyurem is burned from that. Recovers to the yellow though. Is this Freeze Dry going to KO this time? It will, and it's a critical hit to wrap up this free-for-all. Probably the last battle I'm going to win today. Alright, so let's see what we've got here. We've got Zekrom, Machamp, Rotom, and Zekrom again. We're going to start things off with a knockoff. And we'll go against Juice Forever Zekrom. And there's a switch onto Orbeetle. Electro Web misses Zekrom. And hits everyone else. Doesn't do a lot, but does lower speed. Knockoff does a decent amount. Knocks away the Citrus Berry. Machamp has Guts here. We'll go for a close combat. And we'll go against Rotom this time. Rotom on the Protect. Dragon Claw is blocked. And there's a Sticky Web. And Close Combat is blocked as well. We're going to go for a knockoff against Orbeetle this time. Glalie heading out. Dragon Claw does a decent amount. Orbeetle recovers onto the green. There's a Hypnosis against Zekrom. And Orbeetle is the first one out. Hitmontop is up next. We're going to go for a Bullet Punch against Glalie here. And Bullet Punch doesn't do a whole lot. Close Combat does a lot more, and Glalie is out. And Zekrom is still asleep. So up next, Zenny is going to go for Frosmoth. Interesting call here, Chief. We're going to go for a close combat against Zekrom. And it looks like Hitmontop had the same idea here. Zekrom's still asleep. There's a Quiver Dance by Frosmoth to watch out for. And Zekrom is out. Emolga's up next. We're going to go for a Bullet Punch against Frosmoth here. And Frosmoth with the Protect. Bullet Punch doesn't do a lot. Acrobatics will take down Machamp here. And Close Combat is blocked. We're going to go for Lanoon. And we're going in. A Belly Drum to start things off. Everyone's down to 5 Pokemon, and it looks like we are waiting on Zenny here. It looks like we might have an early DQ via inactivity here. Alright, so Frosmoth is out. Acrobatics takes down Hitmontop. And there's the Belly Drum by Lanoon here. And recovers with its Wiki Berry. Tornadus is up next, and we're going to go for an Extreme Speed against Emolga. And Emolga is out here. And Heat Wave does a decent amount against Lanoon. Duraludon's up next. We're going to go for an Extreme Speed again, this time against Tornadus. And Tornadus is out. And Body Press takes down Lanoon. About what I expected at this point. So up next for us is going to be Kingdra. Zeraora is also heading out. We'll go for a Draco Meteor. No, we won't. We'll go for a Muddy Water against both of them. And there is a knockoff to knock away the Assault Vest. Snarl in response doesn't do a lot. Does lower special attack though. Muddy Water doesn't do a lot either. We're going to go for a Rain Dance here if we can. Play Rough is super effective against Kingdra. There's another Snarl, and it only hits Zeraora this time. So we're going to go for a Hydro Pump against Zeraora here. And they go for a switch onto Tangrowth. And Play Rough does a decent amount. And Hydro Pump misses Zeraora. We're going to go for a Draco Meteor this time against Tangrowth. And play rough, takes down Kingdra. And Tangrowth fails on the knockoff. That was intended for Kingdra as well. We're going to go for Garbodor. And we're going to go in with... Actually, I've got two options here. I'm going to go for the Toxic Spikes. Knockoff does a somewhat decent amount. Knocks away the Citrus Berry as well. And a knockoff in response, and Zero Aura is out. Juice Forever has the lead here, and looks like he's got a way of solidifying the lead as well. Sharpedo is heading out. And Waterfall does a good amount against Garbodor here. Recovers back into the green. Goes for the Toxic Spikes again, and now a Sleep Powder is played against Garbodor here, and ends up putting Garbodor right to sleep. Ice Beam goes against Tangrowth, and that is a KO. I had a Gunk Shot against Tangrowth there. Turns out that wasn't even necessary. There's a Crunch, and Body Press takes down Sharpedo. I just realized that with Duraludon being a Steel type, he's not affected whatsoever by the poison. And there's a Dragon Dance by Zekrom, and Body Press is enough to take down Garbodor. So up next for me, I'm going to go for Gourgeist. And we're going to go in Dynamax here. And we're going with a Max Phantasm. Dragon Claw, Duraludon down to 1%. Draco Meteor takes down Zekrom. So I'm the last opponent remaining for Juice Forever. Or should I say Juice Forever is the last opponent remaining for me. Eventually Duraludon gets taken down. So who's going to be up next? It is going to be Indeedee. Pressured by the Toxic Poison. Max Overgrowth is the only move I could really use, and Indeedee goes for a Protect. My prediction, Indeedee's going to Dynamax and go for a Max Guard next round. Turns out he doesn't do that, goes for a Mystical Fire instead, and Max Overgrowth takes down Indeedee. One more Pokemon to go, and I think the Dynamax is still intact for Juice Forever. Victini is the last Pokemon remaining. There's the Dynamax. Goes for the Max Flare, and Gourgeist is still in it. And the Poltergeist, Victini is still in the green here. We're going to go for it again. Actually, no. I'm going to play it a bit defensive and go for a Protect. Max Flare does a decent amount. Gourgeist down to the red. And the Max Flutterby is enough to take down Gourgeist. We're in a last stock scenario here. Victini recovers to the green. Druddigan's going to be my last Pokemon. And we're going to go for a Sucker Punch here. And Victini down to the yellow. In response, goes for a Glaciate. That will not be enough. And Victini gets taken down from the Toxic. And that will be that for this special episode of Pokemon Showdown. Feel free to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Again, thank you guys for all the recent support. It'll be interesting to see what happens from here. And with all that being said, I'll talk to you guys in the next video.